welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am speaking with David Karchere, and we're so excited to be able to have this chat and let you see what we're chatting about. So thank you so much, David, for being here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
So glad to do this interview with you.
So you're traveling to Kamloops BC to offer an event called Healing Chant, Attunement through Healing Chant. For people
Yes.
who've never heard of the Healing Chant, can you tell us a little bit more about what this is?
Sure. It's a very simple use of the voice to bring healing to other people. And I think we know, all of us in some way, that a voice can be healing. Kind words spoken by another person can bring healing. The sound of someone's voice can bring healing. And I've come to learn that it's a crucial factor in our lives that in modern civilization, Western civilization, we've come to believe that we can't bring healing to another person. But I say we can, that the sound of our voice matters. And this is a workshop to remind us of that and to practice the use of the voice to bring healing to other people.
That sounds wonderful. It's true. We think that healing belongs in the hands of other people instead of just ourselves. So that's a really wonderful point that you make.
Well, certainly we all appreciate being able to go to a medical doctor if that's really what we need. But that doesn't deny our own ability to bring healing to other people and even to ourselves, and to develop practices that help us do that.
Mm. Just so even the word healing, what does it mean when you say the word healing and we can bring healing to ourselves?
Sure. Well, there are many levels to healing. I think it does relate to life and vitality and vibrancy. It relates to wholeness. And when we're speaking about healing, we're speaking about healing at many levels of our being. There is the healing of the physical body. And we know that even though we appreciate the outer things that the medical community can bring to us that can assist healing, ultimately it's life itself that brings healing, the life of the body. So there's healing at a physical level, but also at an emotional and mental level. So there are many levels at which healing is important. And I do believe it all starts really with a healing of the spirit, so a wholeness of our own spirit. And with that wholeness, there's something that happens for us emotionally and mentally. And of course, medicine is finding out through research that all those levels of healing internally affect what's happening in the physical body, because all the parts of who we are interacting with each other in this wonderfully dynamic way all the time.
That's so true, so true. So people attending this Attunement Through Healing Chant event in Kamloops can expect to receive some healing on lots of levels. What else can they expect to gain from this event?
Well, it affects us personally when we experience some kind of healing. And then it also affects our immediate world, the field of living in which we're functioning. So I did this workshop in Australia, a woman who came, and she was having a lot of trials with her family and having a hard time bringing peace into her family. And she did some work with that over the course of the workshop. And I was so pleased to hear from her a week later that things changed in her family. Like when she got home and brought the greater peace and the healing that she knew internally, there was a change to what was happening with her children and her husband, and how they were all interacting. So I think we know that when there's a shift in us personally, that shift can make a change in how we're relating to others, and it can invite others to make a shift. It can shift the whole dynamic of the world in which we're living in a most wonderful way. So that's a lovely outcome. And as you can imagine, I was so pleased to have heard that that happened for this person. But I think there are many things that happen for people when there's the energy of using the voice.
It's so true. When we do something to heal ourselves, the effects that it has on our world and our families. I love that you said that. And using the voice and using sound is so interesting. We think of using hands for healing, but just the vibration of sound as a healing tool is really fascinating to me. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, absolutely. Just starting with the fact that when we're using our voice, we're breathing. And we're breathing in a deeper way, in a more rhythmic way. They've done some studies recently and found that people who sing in choirs together have an entrainment of their heart rhythms, and it happens within moments. So you begin to sing with other people, and there's this beautiful entrainment that goes on. Um, so there's the use of the breath, there's an entrainment with other people at many levels of our being. And I like to say in the workshop that there's a difference between chanting and singing as I see it. So singing is a performance and chant is an experience. So people who come to the workshop have a profound experience individually for themselves. And then they're sharing an experience that's getting magnified with the people that they're surrounded by.
Do people need to
So
be singers or have singing, chanting experienced in order to come?
no, they do not. They do not. Like I say, it's not a performance. And so many people have had awful experiences
Mm-hmm.
growing up. I know my father used to tell the story of being in a choir in elementary school and being told just to mouth the words and don't sing, just because the teacher didn't like the way he was singing. So many people have had those kind of shaming experiences. So I would like to say, whatever you think your voice sounds like, whether you think you're a good singer or not, really doesn't matter because you have an opportunity to experience a new kind of vitality and to share that with others and to have a healing for yourself in whatever way is right for you, whether it relates to a healing of the heart or even something vitalized in the physical body. It is so restorative to chant together with other people over the course of a day.
Mm. I imagine that would be very healing. I really resonate with what you said about everybody is a bit shy of their voices or the shaming that occurred around it, or music is only for professionals, or sound coming out of your mouth is only for people who are paid for it. But it's reclaiming it.
It is reclaiming it. That's a good word for it. As I mentioned, I've done this workshop in Australia, and friends of mine there participate in something called Sing Australia. And it was started by an Australian man who realized that in his culture, people weren't singing. He had gone to Wales, where everybody sings, and it's in the culture. And then he came home and he realized nobody sang in Australia. So he started up these local choirs, and he created music and sheet music for really just the words, mostly, for people to sing so that they could sing together and feel the community and the vitality of what happens when we sing together. People have been singing together for millennia, and somehow we've lost it in the society in which we live. And I do believe that we need to reclaim our voices and then reclaim our ability to be a healing influence in our world. We have that ability with each other, and we need to reclaim it.
Mm.
And in the workshop, we get a chance to explore all the avenues that are available to us to bring a healing current to other people. So there's our voice, our thoughts, our eyes, even what emanates from our hands has the ability to bring a healing current to other people. We are healers. It's our birthright. So this workshop is an opportunity to reclaim that birthright in a really wonderful, invigorating way.
Oh, it does sound wonderful. You're speaking about healing through hands and hearts and all parts of ourselves, and that leads me to think about attunement, and attunement is part of the title and part of what you do.
Yes.
Can you tell us
Yes.
more about what attunement is?
Sure. Well, as the word suggests, it's about attuning to something, and really it's about attuning to the very life current that's within us.
Mm.
And we all may have a different way of viewing where that comes from, but certainly the reality of life comes from a magical, mysterious place that is largely unknown to us as human beings. But we can open up to it, we can attune to it. And through an activity like chanting, it's an opportunity to attune personally to the inner source of our own life and let our own human mechanism tune up. And then as we do that, we're bringing the current that naturally flows from that attunement to other people. And so in the workshop, there's a chance to share that current very dynamically with other people through the voice, through what emanates from the eyes, through our thoughts. I don't want to give away too much of what we do, but there are just so many avenues to reclaim of our human capacity and our human function really every day. We look at people every day, but often don't think about the opportunity we have to radiate something of a healing current, an attunement current through the eyes to another person. And yet, that can be so healing. I know at times in my life, when someone has looked at me deeply in the eyes, when there was something troubled in my heart, it was so meaningful, so meaningful. And we have that gift to give, but of course we have to attune ourselves to let that be activated through us. So this workshop is devoted to letting that happen for ourselves. And my hope in offering the workshop is, one, that people will have a profound experience in the workshop itself, and people do. And then when they walk away, that they'll remember the activation of the very simple things that we've done in the workshop that are relevant to what they do every day.
It sounds wonderful. I was just thinking about what you said about the eyes, and babies and children, they always look deeply into my eyes or to anybody's eyes, but then we seem to get away from that sort of natural connection and natural even healing of gazing into somebody's eyes deeply.
Right. You know, it's interesting. You remind me of another study I just read about. And what they found is that when there is eye contact, face-to-face contact between mother and infant, and the mother smiles at the baby and the baby smiles back, there's an attunement happening. And they've measured an entrainment again of the heart rhythms. And it happens momentarily, just through that contact, a magical thing. So there is something that's conveyed through our eyes, through our face, and through our facial expressions to other people. And it's real. It's real. So we have an opportunity to work with that every day, of course, and then to highlight it in the workshop.
Absolutely. When you say entrainment, what does that mean?
Well, I think it means that there's a syncing up of the rhythms of energy and therefore the rhythms of our expression and function as human beings. So what they measured scientifically, which is relatively easy to measure, is the heartbeat. So what they measured was that mother's heartbeat and the infant's heartbeat are syncing up. You know, they weren't before and they were after. They were there face to face, sharing a smile.
Really nice.
This is universal language we're talking about now. And I've been so happy to have taken this workshop to many places around the world. So I mentioned Australia. I've done it in Canada, in British Columbia, outside of Vancouver, and in the United States. And I've done it in Norway, South Africa, England, Wales. And I don't think I've had a single person who told me, oh, this is weird. I don't know what this is about. I've never done this before. It is amazing how natural it is for us to use our voices to bring healing, how natural it is to offer healing radiation through the hands. This isn't something weird or strange, even though in our contemporary society there are voices that might say it is so, but it isn't. It's all these things are ancient practices that are just innate to us. The the practice of bringing calm and vitalization through the hands, through the eyes, through the voice. These are all very natural in everyday life, and it's also very natural to take particular times that we set aside to amplify those avenues of expression.
Absolutely. So this workshop could be for anybody. It's not any particular denomination or type of people who can come. It's for anybody. Is that true?
It is for anybody. You know, you can have a spiritual practice or not have a spiritual practice. You can be a singer or not a singer. You could be a healing professional or just a plain ordinary person who is looking to experience something different in their life, maybe looking for another range of peacefulness, another range of vitalization, looking to find greater meaning in the simple things that you're doing every day, looking to turn over a new page in your life, whatever it is. Uh, there is a universal language that the voice speaks. And if this appeals to somebody, if they're drawn to come, I certainly urge them to go ahead and do so.
That sounds wonderful. It's also fascinating that you travel the world. So currently you live in Colorado, and you travel the world sharing this, and you just happen to be bringing it to British Columbia Interior, to Kamloops. So we're really lucky in that community to have you coming.
Well, I'm just delighted to come. I've been to Kamloops before, and a dear friend of mine, Marilyn Manderson, invited me to come and is helping me put on the event.
Mm.
And
Marilyn is quite
it,
involved in the community, and a lot of people know her and respect her. So I
uh,
know anything she's involved in, that's something that people want to come to.
yeah, I can imagine. I share that respect, and as many may know, she's got a background of being a nurse and a background in many other fields.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You also have connections with British Columbia Interior. So tell us a little bit more about how you came to be where you are now, and your journey. So Attunement, Emissaries of Divine Light, and how the Attunement Healing Chant connects to that.
Well, that's a long story, but I'll tell you a little bit. Uh, so, you know, I grew up in the 60s. So I grew up in a time when the Vietnam War was going on and a time where there was a lot of turmoil in the United States and indeed in many countries. And I was protesting the war. I was looking at the world around me and realizing that there was little answer in the world as it was and in the direction I saw the world going. And I railed against that world, and I was angry because of what I saw. I was angry about the Vietnam War. I certainly didn't want to be drafted, and I saw friends being drafted. I didn't like what was happening politically in my country. And so I led a march from my high school. I led 1,200 students to downtown in Westport, Connecticut, and I gave a talk along with others to thousands more. But I still just had a lot of anguish in my own soul. And at some point, I realized that the world that I was angry about, that I looked at outside of myself, was also in me. That all the things that were making me unhappy weren't just out there, but there was a sickness in my own soul that needed healing. And that was really devastating to me. So I was really searching. I was really looking for what the answer was for my own life. And somebody came from Sunrise Ranch and gave a talk in my hometown and put before me the possibility that the answer that I was looking for was within me and in the calling of my own life to let that answer out, to give expression to the creativity that's in me. And I do believe that's the answer for every person, and it is the answer for humanity. There's tremendous creativity inside us. There's genius, there's wisdom, there's love, all those qualities. But somehow it's gotten stopped up inside, even though it's innate to us. There's something in our culture that's covered it over and shut it down. And so I walked a path that had me liberated from that, and then of sharing that with other people. And more my life has been about that. And I do workshops of all kinds, workshops and seminars. And I have to say, my favorite workshop is Healing Chant because it's so universal and it's just so liberating. And we do some talking amongst each other, and I get to share some ideas, but it's not mostly about the ideas. It's mostly about the experience that we get to share firsthand with each other. And like I say, it's universal. So it cuts across culture and belief and race and background. So I really enjoy the workshop for that reason.
Very nice. So it's something that you've been involved with, sounds like, for a very long time. Since you were young and you started seeking, you found Attunement and you found Sunrise Ranch and you found this exploration.
That's true. Yeah, it's been a big part of my life, a central part of my life, all my life,
Yeah.
virtually all my adult life.
Yeah. And I was reading a little bit about you that you ended up living in New York City and working for IBM, which I thought in a way was fascinating for somebody who was disillusioned with the war and things that were going on and didn't want to be part of that. And then you found some healing and went
Yeah.
on to be able to have a full life right in a city. How was that for you?
Yes. You know, it was liberating. It really was. I think when we find the creativity inside ourselves, we're drawn to bring that to the world. And there is something to learn being away from the world. You know, archetypally, it's the cave in the Himalayas. Uh, and it could be a spiritual community such as the one I live at, which is Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. And being away from the world for a time can be a wonderful way to access something within oneself. But I also think that encountering the world and bringing your gift to the world to find out that you're strong and viable and you are who you are no matter where you are, that's very life affirming for anybody. And it certainly was for me. So there was something I learned living right in the heart of New York City and working in the corporate world that really has been a great gift to me. And I've lived there and I've lived in spiritual community and I've had many other experiences, but that was important to me.
It sounds like it would be, and it would be important to how you can relate to all the people who come to Sunrise Ranch and they've been in the corporate world or in big cities and then they're coming to this community. It must be an amazing experience for them, and you know what it's like. So I imagine it would make you a good leader and they can relate with you.
Well, thank you. I hope so.
Absolutely. So Colorado, how long have you lived there for?
I've lived in Colorado since the year 2000. So
And
that's just about 16 years now.
oh, wonderful. So Sunrise Ranch, this sounds fascinating to me. I'd love to visit someday. Can you tell me a little bit more about it?
Sure. It is a spiritual community. There's about 80 of us who live there. There are people who come for various programs for various lengths of time. We have a 7-month program we call Full Self-Emergence that's just begun. And we have a group of people in that live-in program who are interns at the ranch. And it is a working ranch. So we raise grass-fed beef and we raise organic vegetables. So it's been there since 1945, and we have never used chemical fertilizers or chemical pesticides. So they were really visionary people who started the ranch. And it is also the home to the Arise Festival every August. So it's a music and camping festival. And we have thousands of people out in our pasture enjoying great music and culture.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I'll have to look that up as well. So in this, it's a spiritual community in Colorado. We used to have something similar, or we have many things similar in BC, but connected with Sunrise Ranch and you, up near 100 Mile, there was another community. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So 100 Mile House and the community there was very connected with us. And there still are a few people in 100 Mile who are connected with us. We moved our community, central community, in British Columbia from there to a place called Edenvale that's in Aldergrove outside of Vancouver.
Oh, Marilyn has spoken about Edenvale, and we've featured some of the events that are happening there in our magazine, so I'm actually really excited about that too. So Edenvale is in Aldergrove, and there's actually an event coming up there as well. I'm just looking at it on May 15th.
Yes.
In Aldergrove for our people who are on the coast. So tell us a little bit more about Edenvale.
Well, Edenvale is like a mini Sunrise, but British Columbia style, I guess I'd say. It's a wonderful farm project that's going on there, Edenvale Community Gardens, and there are all kinds of school groups that come to that. There are all kinds of programs that are put on there at Edenvale. And then we have our core spiritual teachings that are offered there, and there are programs on attunement. There was just one this past weekend that was done. And so people can connect with Marilyn about that, or look us up on the website and find out more about what's happening at Edenvale.
Nice. I'll make sure that I put all the links for our viewers down below this video so they can just tap on all the links. There sounds like a lot of different things that they're going to want to be checking out and getting involved in. And especially your website. Your website is wonderful, so that link will be there below as well. I was looking on your website and I got excited because it says your top 3 teachings from 20 years. You can get those if you put your email address in. And I thought that was so cool. But how do you distill down what your top 3 things that you want people to know are?
Well, they were just things that were particularly exciting to me. So I think it was just that.
Very cool. Can you tell us one of them?
I can't in this moment. I'll keep it a secret.
That's good. It'll make people make sure they go on your website and put their email address in. But what is something, maybe some advice that you would have, or something important that our listeners and our viewers who are seeing this, what can you tell people? What is something that they can do in their lives right now for greater balance or greater healing in their lives?
The most profound thing that I learned very early on, and it's something that's been a lifelong practice, and it's simply this, that what we're looking for is inside us, and it wants out. And there's a greater love within us. It's trying to come out. When we open up to it and let it out, we're happy and we're fulfilled. And there's a wisdom in us, and there's a peace in us. And we may be looking for that around us in other people and circumstances, but it's within us. And when we give it, we get it. We experience it on the way out, and then it comes back around in a wonderful way that we can never expect. But that's the law of cause and effect. And so it's not always obvious, what it is within us that's to be accessed. But if we're calm, if we're still, if we're tranquil, if we open up to it, it's there. It's always there. Always, always, always. No matter what you're going through, no matter what challenges there are, no matter what you're looking for, there's something inside you that wants out. And then in letting it out, life is an adventure and life is fun. And it's an encounter with other people and the world around you. And that's all wonderful. But it's only wonderful if you're letting what's inside you out, because otherwise there's a degree of misery that you're going through. So that's what I would advise for anybody. And I know it's easy, and you might say harder to, but it is available to anyone. And it is a lifelong practice, and you just never get tired of it, because life is unending.
It's true. I love hearing that, because I think in our world, sometimes we're so focused on the externals. What can I learn, and how can I fix myself internally, and what can I externally get in order to feel better. Even if it's some kind of new spiritual practice or something, we're always looking externally. And to hear you say it's always in, it's always within, that's affirming.
Yeah. And then I think the other part's really important. It's within us and it wants out. We're not just going in to meet it inside, but we're welcoming it into us and through us and out. There's no end to that. If you try to go into it and you're just always trying to go in, at some point it stops. It's unending when you access it, and then it's coming out through you, and you're giving it.
And then that brings in the aspect of it being so important to connect in community and with other people.
Yes.
Yeah, and so this event, it's like full circle to this event that's coming up. This is a perfect place to experience that connection with a group of people.
It is. There's a wonderful and safe spirit of community that happens invariably in this healing chant event.
Very nice. Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I bet you there's a lot of different people in Kamloops who are also looking forward to it. So we're going to post all the links below, and any more information that's needed. There's going to be email address and things there for people to learn more. And if people want to connect with you, David, how can they find you? What is your website?
It's davidkarchere.com.
Okay.
So just connect there. And like you were saying earlier, people can put in their email addresses and my weekly email.
Sounds wonderful. And they can find you at this event. They can find more about Attunement at attunement.org. They can also attend the events in Aldergrove and connect with Marilyn Manderson in our community here, because she's very involved with Edenvale and with Attunement in this community. She offers attunements for people individually here, so we're really lucky for that as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And Sunrise Ranch as well has a website too, so it's sunriseranch.org. And like I said, we'll make sure all the links are down below.
Very good.
Very good. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, or you'd like our listeners to hear from you before we sign off?
I would just say thank you, Elizabeth. It's so good to connect. It's good to meet you. And great to do this interview with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And we'll see everybody next time.